The noon sun of a western town pressed down heavy, bleaching wood and bone, shimmering over the dirt road like a mirage. Dust curled under wagon wheels, horses snorted, and townsfolk drifted in and out of doorways where shadows gave brief relief from the blaze. On the side of the saloon, where the rubbish barrel leaned crooked, a woman knelt with her children. She had tied her hair back with a strip of cloth, her face pale beneath the sun, her eyes darting at every passerby who might have seen. Her little boy of 4 sat on the ground beside her, bare feet dusty, clutching a tin scrap where someone had left crusts of bread. His sister, a thin girl of 6, balanced a broken plate on her knees, licking beans from it as though it were a feast. The mother, Nora, touched their shoulders gently, urging them to eat quickly, to hide the hunger that had dragged them here. Shame clung to her like dust. Whispers trailed the street behind her. There she is again, widow woman, picking scraps. Her man's gone, left her with mouths to feed. Won't last long that way. Folks like that drift like tumbleweed. Nora heard, though she kept her eyes lowered, her pride burning hotter than the sun. Her children's ribs pressed against thin fabric, their cheeks hollow. She would have endured hunger herself, but not them, not her babies. Still, it carved her roar to be seen scavenging where drunks tossed what they didn't finish. A shadow fell across her, boots planted firm in the dust. She looked up, startled. He stood there, a man of broad frame, face roughened by sun and wind, hat brim shadowing gray-green eyes that missed nothing. He held a sack of supplies in one hand, and the sight of her, the widow crouched by scraps, made his jaw tighten as though swallowing words, and said, "Noah." The rancher had never been one for town gossip, but he had heard enough to know her name, to know her struggles since her husband was laid in the ground a year past. He watched the boy chew slowly on crust, watched the girl wipe beans with her finger and suck them clean. His eyes softened, then hardened, like iron bending against its own will. He spoke, his voice low, steady, final. "Get your things, you're coming home." The words cracked the air more than if he had fired a pistol. Nora blinked at him, stunned, clutching her children close. "What?" Her voice scraped out, half defiance, half disbelief. "You heard me." His eyes held hers, unwavering. "Gather what's yours. You and the young ones. You're coming with me." Her heart pounded. The children looked up wide-eyed, not understanding, only sensing the gravity in his tone. "We don't need charity," she whispered, forcing her spine straight, though shame made her throat ache. "It ain't charity." Noah shifted the sack to his other hand, gaze steady as a post sunk deep in soil. "A man don't stand by while good folk starve. You'll come. Today." Nora opened her mouth to protest, but her boy tugged at her skirt, whispering, "Mama, I'm still hungry." Her girl leaned against her shoulder, eyes shining at the sight of Noah like he was something solid they might hold on to. The mother's defenses trembled. Pride warred with desperation, but desperation won. She nodded once, quick and pained. The rancher didn't smile, didn't gloat. He only tilted his head toward the edge of town, where his wagon waited. "Then let's go." They climbed onto the wagon, children clutching at one another, Nora sitting stiff, hands folded tight in her lap. Noah drove with reins loose in calloused fingers, his silence deep but not cold. Dust billowed behind them as the town shrank away, the whispers fading with distance. On the road, cicadas whirred, grass swayed in hot gusts. Nora's boy leaned against her, dozing, while her girl sat close, staring shyly at Noah. He reached into the sack, pulled out a roll of fresh bread, and wordlessly offered it. The girl hesitated until Nora gave a small nod. She tore it gently, gave half to her brother, then nibbled the rest with eyes bright from a taste of real food. Nora's voice, hoarse but edged with steel, broke the quiet. "We don't need pity." Noah kept his eyes on the road. "It ain't pity. It's a place to breathe." Her breath caught, unsteady. She turned away, staring at the rolling land, the horizon where sky bent down to kiss earth. For the first time in months, she let herself imagine a day beyond hunger. The ranch rose before them by late afternoon, a house weathered but sturdy, fields spread wide, fences neat, cattle grazing like dark shadows against gold. Windmill Creek slow, steady as breath. The children's eyes widened at the sight. To them, it was palace enough. Inside, the kitchen smelled of wood and dust, empty yet waiting. Nora set to cooking that evening, nervous hands preparing beans and cornbread. She placed them on the rough wooden table. Noah, seated across, shoulders broad, had set aside, eyes glancing at her with something unreadable. They ate in silence broken only by the children's chatter, the girl humming softly, the boy swinging legs against the bench. The tension was thick, but beneath it ran something steadier, an unspoken truce between need and pride. Days passed. Rhythm settled. Nora tended house, cooked, mended. Noah rose before dawn, worked fields, repaired fences. The children, once shy, began to explore. The girl braiding strands of a horse's manner, the boy laughing as chickens scattered around his feet. One evening, Noah came in with a neighbor woman trailing, sharp-eyed, lips thin, voice carrying too loud. She glanced at Nora, then at Noah, smiled faintly. "Folks talk, you know. Widow under your roof. Doesn't look proper." Noah's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. He only showed her to the door, closed it firm, and returned to the table. Nora's cheeks burned, shame pricking deeper than the neighbor's words. That night, she folded clothes into a bundle, ready to flee. Yet as she watched her children sleeping peacefully, full-bellied, their faces soft with dreams, she froze. She could not tear them from this fragile piece. In the days that followed, small acts spoke louder than words. Noah mended a torn hem of her dress, silent, careful, leaving it folded on her chair. Nora patched his worn shirt, stitching each seam with steady hands. Flowers appeared in a jar on the table, fresh from the field. Her heart softened, yet she held back, walls built from grief and shame not easy to lower. At the general store, gossip sharpened like knives. "She's taken his table but not his name," a man sneered. Noah ignored it until one spat louder. A decent man wouldn't keep a woman that way. Noah turned, fists clenched, but he didn't strike. His silence, his restraint, carried more weight than violence. Nora, watching, felt a storm of guilt, her presence staining him. That night she sat on the porch with bundle packed. Noah found her there. "Don't run from a place that's already yours," he said softly, his voice roughened with truth. She looked at him, tears trembling, but words failed her. Then the storm came. Rain lashed the ranch, thunder rattled windows, children woke crying. Nora held them close, rocking, while Noah lit lamps, steady as stone. Later, when the children slept, she confessed in a whisper, "I'm only a burden." Noah's voice cracked raw. "You're not a burden. You're the piece I didn't know I was missing." Their hands almost touched, the space between them electric, but she pulled back, afraid of her own longing. The storm passed, leaving dawn clear, the meadow washed in gold. Noah stood in the grass, hat in hand, a plain silver ring gleaming in his calloused palm. He knelt, not with grand speech, but with words bare and steady. "I don't got fancy ways. Just a home, a heart, and a place at my side. If you'll have it." Nora's eyes filled, her voice trembling as she whispered, "Yes, yes, I will." The children pressed close between them, sunlight catching tears, dust rising like golden smoke. Noah slipped the ring on her finger, his face open, vulnerable, a man remade. And so the ranch, once silent, became more than shelter. It became family. If you should ever find yourself hollowed by shame, drifting like tumbleweed with no place to rest, remember this. Sometimes salvation is not thunder nor triumph, but a steady voice, a kind hand, and the courage to say, "You're coming home."